The war was loud, long, and full of fire. Planets burned, ships exploded, screams echoed in space. And it almost destroyed everything. Captain John Rayner was only 26 when he landed on the cold planet of Xeris. He was part of the human army sent to attack the alien race known as the Zerathi. They had blue skin, glowing silver eyes, and sharp language. But they were not monsters. They were fighting to survive, just like humans. John didn't think of politics. He followed orders. Shoot. Clear rooms. Move forward. Don't stop. The Zerathi colony on Xeris was almost empty by the time John's squad reached it. Smoke covered. The skies, buildings were broken, fires burned, and bodies too many lay across the ground. But something felt wrong. This wasn't a battle anymore. It was a cleanup, a slaughter. John walked into a cracked stone building with his rifle raised. The light was low, and the air smelled like metal and ash. His boots stepped over broken glass and blood. Then he heard it, a soft sound, like breathing. Hiding. John moved slowly toward a pile of rubble. A strange shimmer caught his eye. Something small was hiding between two broken walls. He pointed his weapon, ready to shoot. But then he saw her. A little girl. Blue skin, big silver eyes, wide with fear. She was curled into a ball, holding a broken necklace in one hand. Her body shook, was bleeding from her leg. She looked up at him, terrified. John froze. She couldn't have been more than 7 or 8. She was scared, alone, and wounded. His finger was on the trigger. His heart was beating fast, but he didn't shoot. He slowly lowered his rifle and said softly, "It's okay. I won't hurt you." The girl didn't understand the words, but she saw his eyes. They were not cruel. They were tired, sad, soft. He put his rifle on the floor and raised his empty hands. "Come here," he whispered. She looked unsure. Then she slowly crawled out of the rubble, limping. She fell once, cried out, then kept crawling. John stepped forward and gently picked her up. Her skin was warm, her pulse was weak. John took off his jacket and wrapped her in it, through his earpiece. His squad was shouting, "Captain, where are you? We found some live ones. Orders say to terminate." John looked at the girl in his arms. He pressed the come button. "All clear on my side. Just boat is." "Roger that. Keep moving." John carried the girl out the back of the building, hiding her in his backpack under his coat. "Make a sound." She just held on to that necklace and closed her eyes. That night, John found a quiet place in the ruins where no one would search. He cleaned her wound with water from his canteen and gave her half his rations. She ate carefully, eyes never leaving him. "What's your name?" he asked. She blinked, then touched her chest. Kale, Kalira. John smiled. "Kalira. That's a pretty name." She pointed at him. "Who? Man." He nodded. "Yes, human. I'm John." She said it softly. "Jan." Close enough for 3 days. John hid her. Every time his squad searched buildings, he led them the other way. He told lies. He kept her safe. But the mission was ending. Soon, transports would leave. He couldn't take her back to base. She would be studied, locked up or worse. So he made a decision. That night, he left his squad's perimeter and walked. Deep into the forest with her on his back, they reached a hidden cave where rebels once camped. There he found an old emergency beacon and left her food, water, and a small med kit. He looked into her eyes. "I have to go," he said, "but someone will come. Friends, good ones. You'll be okay." She didn't understand all his words, but she knew what he meant. Tears filled her eyes. She grabbed his hand. John gently placed the necklace around her neck. "Be strong, Kalira," whispered something in her own language. A prayer, maybe. Then, before he turned to leave, she did something that shocked him. She bowed not a child's bow, a deep, respectful bow like a royal or a priest might give. Then she touched his heart with her hand. John stood still. Then he walked away, never. Looking back, the war ended 2 years later. John left the army. Too many memories. Too many ghosts. He settled on a quiet colony planet called Velen's Rest. Far from politics, far from battlefields. He bought a small farm and raised crops in peace. He never spoke of Kalira. He didn't even know if she lived. But sometimes, at night, he would stare at the stars and wonder. 30 years passed. John grew older. His hair turned gray. His body ached. But he still worked the land. One quiet morning, the sun was just rising when a shadow passed over his fields. He looked up. A massive ship was descending, silent, black, and shaped like a spear. Nothing like human ships. It was Zarathi. John dropped his tools. Guards in silver armor stepped down from the ship. Their skin was blue, their eyes glowing. They moved in perfect formation. He stepped back, unsure. Then a woman stepped between them. She was tall, graceful, and wore a cloak of silver and blue. Her skin was smooth, her eyes sharp, her presence powerful. She looked at John and spoke one word in perfect human language: kneel. John blinked. The soldiers raised their weapons slightly, watching him. The woman stepped closer. Her voice was steady. Kneel before your empress. John stared at her. Then he looked into her eyes, and suddenly, he knew Kalira, the little girl he saved, had returned. The morning wind blew across the farmland. Birds flew from the trees, startled by the strange sound in the sky. The black alien ship floated just above the ground, humming with quiet power. Its sharp design looked like it was made for war, not peace. John Rayner stood still. His hands were covered in dirt from the field, and sweat dripped from his forehead. But he wasn't tired from work anymore. His heart was beating faster than it had in years. He looked up at the woman standing before him. Her long cloak moved with the wind. The guards around her stood in silence. Every one of them had the same glowing silver eyes, the same sharp armor, the same deadly focus. But John didn't care about them. He only looked at her Kalira, the same blue-skinned girl he had saved during. The thorn wore now, fully grown, tall and regal, with a calm face and commanding voice. But she had changed. Everything about her spoke of power. She wasn't scared anymore. She wasn't weak. She was in control. Still, her eyes held something familiar, a piece of the child he once knew. Yet the first word she said to him was not hello. It was kneel. John took a deep breath and wiped his hands on his pants. Then he stepped forward, only a few feet from her. He didn't kneel. I saved you, he said, his voice calm but firm. I didn't do it to become your servant. Kalira's expression didn't change. I remember, she said, every second, every moment. Her voice was smooth, her human language perfect, no accent, no hesitation. You gave me food, you gave me water, you gave me your jacket, and you gave me hope. She paused. But now I give you an order. John shook his head slightly. Why are you here? To see the man who changed my life? To repay a debt? Her tone grew colder. And to test his loyalty? The Zarathi guards shifted slightly. One of them tapped something on his wrist. A small holographic map appeared, showing the area. Kalira raised her hand, and the soldier stepped back. I am no longer the little girl you rescued, she said. I am Kalira Ve Empress of the Zarathi Unity. I command 1/3 of the outer spiral, and I carry the authority of 12 bloodlines.
John
Raised an eyebrow.
Good for you.
But I'm just a farmer. You were a soldier. A captain. You made a choice, one that risked your life to protect me. I made that choice because it was right, John said. Not because I expected anything from you. Not even thanks. Kalieras. Voice softened a little. You deserve more than thanks, John Rayner. You deserve a place beside me. He frowned. Is that what this is? A throne room invitation? She stepped closer. I need you. It's not as a slave, not as a trophy, as a symbol. He stared at her, not understanding. She turned and motioned to her guards. Bring him. Two guards stepped forward. Before John could argue, they gently but firmly took his arms and led him into the ship. The inside of the ship was nothing like human design. The walls pulsed with blue light. Symbols danced across panels without buttons. It was alive almost like it breathed. They passed through long halls and reached a wide chamber with glass walls. Outside, the stars shimmered. Inside, floating screens showed maps, cities, and alien languages. Kalira sat on a silver platform. In the middle, she motioned for John to sit opposite her. The guards left the room. Only they remained. "I never forgot you," she said, "even when the rebels hid me. Even when I was sent to a temple to train. Even when they gave me command of a fleet, and I saw the galaxy bend before me, I remembered the human who saved a child and asked for nothing." John nodded. I remember too, but that doesn't explain why you want me to kneel." Kalira looked down, then back up, her eyes serious. "Because the galaxy is watching." She waved her hand, and a screen showed images, human colonies, alien worlds, armies, politics. "The peace between your people and mine is thin. One wrong move, and it breaks. My advisors fear you. They say you're dangerous, that you might turn others against me." John laughed softly. "I'm just a tired old man who grows vegetables." "You're more than that," she said. "You're a story, a legend. Among my people, you're known as the Fire Hand, the human who spared the child of the stars." John raised an eyebrow.
That's dramatic.
She smiled slightly. "Zarathi history is always dramatic." Then her smile faded. "But some on my council believe we should erase that story. It makes me look weak, that you want a human have too much power in my memory." John leaned back. "So you want me to kneel to prove I don't?" She nodded. "Kneeling will show unity, not surrender. It's a symbol, a gesture that tells my people you trust me." He shook his head. "I don't kneel for power. I kneel for pain, for loss, for graves." Kalira stood. "You knelt once before, when you lifted a wounded girl from the dirt. That was power too." John looked at her, quiet. "And now?" He asked, "What do you kneel for, Kalira?" She didn't answer. Later that night, John sat alone in a guest chamber. The bed was soft. Lights were low. Strange alien scent filled the air like metal and flowers. He stared out the glass wall at the stars. Part of him wanted to leave, go back to his field, his quiet life, but part of him was curious. Why had she really returned? Suddenly, the door opened. Kalira stepped in, wearing a simple blue robe. No crown, no armor, just herself. "I dismiss the guards," she said. John turned to her. "Not afraid I'll hurt you." "No," she said. "You had your chance." 30 years ago, they both smiled a little. She sat beside him. "There's something else," she said. "I didn't come only for a symbol." John waited. She reached into her sleeve and pulled out something small. His jacket button. Old. Dirty but cleanly kept. "You left this behind," she said. "I've kept it ever since." John stared at it. His jacket was long gone, burned in. "Some corner of war. That button reminded me of kindness in a cruel world," she said. "And now, I want to offer you something in return." He raised an eyebrow. "Not power," she added quickly. "Not riches. Just a place. At my side. As a guide. As a voice that tells me the truth even when I don't want to hear it." Looked down. "Why me?" "Because you once gave me life," she said. "Now I want to give you purpose." He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "I won't kneel." Kalira nodded. "I know. But I'll stand beside you if you'll let me." She smiled. "A real one this time." "I'd like that, John." John Rayner had been on many ships during the war. Big ones, loud ones, ugly metal ones. But nothing felt like this Zarathi capital ship. It was quiet, soft, clean. Every step echoed gently through long halls made of glowing silver stone. The walls shifted color like they were alive. But the strange part wasn't the ship, it was. Kale Ira, the little girl he once rescued, was now a ruler of stars. And somehow, she still remembered everything: his jacket, his face, the food he gave her. He hadn't thought of himself as a hero, but in her eyes, he had become a legend. Still, John didn't feel like one. He now walked beside her in the royal hall, dressed in fine clothes, gifted by her servants. The robe felt too smooth, too formal. He missed his old farm boots. Kalira walked ahead, tall and proud. Behind them, her guards followed without sound. "Where are we going?" John asked. She glanced back. "To the council chamber. I want them to meet you." John frowned. "You sure that's a good idea?" She gave a small smile. "No, but I'm doing it anyway." The chamber was massive, a round room with a ceiling that showed stars as if there was no roof at all. 12 Habak chairs stood in a circle, each one holding a different Zerathi. Leader nobles, generals, advisors, all blue-skinned. All watching John carefully as he entered, whispers passed among them. Kalira walked to the center of the room. John stood beside her, arms crossed, silent. A tall Zerathi general spoke first. His voice was sharp. "Empress Kalira, is this the human?" "Yes," she said calmly. "The one from the war?" "The same." Another council member, a woman with silver markings on her forehead, leaned forward. "Why bring him here?" "He is from the past. A ghost." John didn't speak. He just watched their faces. Kalira raised her hand. "He is not a ghost. He is the reason I am alive, and the reason I believe peace is possible." A third council member laughed. "You ask us to believe peace can come from a human? After what they did during the Thorn War?" John stepped forward. "I fought in that war." He said, "I saw the things we did, the things you did. None of it was right. But there's no peace without truth." The chamber went quiet. Then the general spoke again. "Truth is that humans cannot be trusted. They see weakness and strike. Even now their colonies build weapons again." Kalira's voice became sharp. "And we will not become the monsters we fought. If we build a kingdom based on hate, we will fall again." Another voice said, "Then what is this human to you?" Kalira paused. Then she looked at John. "He is a reminder of mercy. And he will stand beside me not as a servant, but as a witness. A bridge between our worlds." Whispers filled the room again. John could see some were angry, others curious. But one man, a short counselor with dark markings, said something that caught everyone's attention. "If the human will not kneel, how can he respect our ways?" All eyes turned to John Cale. Ira waited. John looked around the room and spoke slowly. "Where I come from, kneeling means something very deep. We kneel at graves. We kneel when we beg. We kneel when we break. But I won't kneel to show peace." The room was silent again. Then he placed his hand on his chest, the same gesture he gave her years ago. "I offer respect, not fear." Power. Kalira stepped forward and did the same, placing her hand on her own chest. Some counselors nodded slowly. Others remained cold, but no one objected. Later, Kalira and John walked alone through the ship's gardens. Alien trees with glowing leaves reached toward the sky dome above them. Strange flowers opened as they passed. "That could have gone worse," John said. She smiled. "You spoke with honesty." "The council hates honesty," he chuckled. "What do they prefer? Control? Silence? Obedience?" John sat on a stone bench. "You don't seem like someone who obeys easily." She joined him. "I had to obey for years. After you left me in that cave, rebels found me. They hid me, trained me. Then the Empire took me back. I saw the royal mark on my skin, the bloodline of Vey. I was the last of your family." "Yes," she said, "all others were killed in the war. I was a child, but they called me heir. Priestesses taught me how to speak, to rule, to fight. I wanted to run, but I remembered your face, your voice. You told me to be strong." John looked down. "I didn't think you'd even survive. I did, and I rose. But not without scars." She pulled back her sleeve. A line of old marks ran along her forearm, symbols of pain and ceremony. "They made me prove myself, over and over. I won battles. I silenced enemies, but I never forgot kindness. She looked at him. That's why I found you. I wanted to thank you and to ask, will you stay? John blinked. Stay. On this ship with me, she said, not forever, but long enough to help. The galaxy is changing. Your voice matters. He thought about his farm, the quiet mornings, dirt, the peace. Then he looked at her. You've grown into someone strong, he said. I'm proud of you. Her expression softened. Then stay. He gave a small nod. For a while, that night, in a darker part of the ship, a group of Zarathi counselors met in secret. He refused to kneel, one whispered, and she defended him, said another. If this continues, she will forget who she is. A third, older voice spoke. Then we remind her. Either the human kneels or he disappears. They all nodded, and somewhere deep in the ship a blade was sharpened. The Zarathi capital ship moved through the dark space, cutting silently past stars and planets. Inside the ship, tension was thick like a storm ready to break. John Rayner sat in a small room. The walls glowed faint blue, and strange symbols floated. In the air around him, felt like a prisoner, though no chains bound him. Outside the door, footsteps echoed. Talira entered, her face serious but calm. We must talk, she said. John looked up. About the council? She nodded. Want you to kneel publicly, to show loyalty. Or else what? John asked quietly. They threatened to remove me as Empress, to replace me with someone who will obey them without question. John's eyes narrowed. So they want to break you. And me, Kalira sighed. It is a test. It's for both of us. Later that day, Kalira met with her council. John was brought before them. The room was grand and cold, filled with Zarathi, nobles, and soldiers. The head general stood, voice loud. Empress, the human must kneel. His refusal is a threat too. Our unity. Kalira looked at John. What do you say? John stood tall. I will not kneel. A murmur swept through the room. Then what will you do? The general demanded. John's voice was steady. I will stand. I will stand as a friend, as an ally. I will not bow to fear or power. Kalira's eyes met his. The council was divided. Some shouted, demanding punishment. Others whispered of peace. That night, Kalira found John alone in the ship's garden. The glowing plants lit their faces softly. I know the council fears you, she said. John smiled sadly. I don't want to be feared. She sat beside him. They want to control me, to force obedience. John looked at the stars through the glass. You don't have to do what they say. Kalira shook her head. If I lose them, I lose the empire and the peace the first fought for. John reached out. Then fight. But don't lose yourself. She looked at him, conflicted. The next day, Kalira announced a public ceremony. John would be asked again to kneel. This time, the galaxy would watch. The day came fast. In the great hall, thousands gathered. Aliens from many worlds, human diplomats, and Zarathi citizens filled the space. Kalira stood on a raised platform. John stood before her. She spoke to the crowd. This ceremony is a symbol of peace, trust between our peoples. Then she turned to John. Will you kneel before me? John looked at her, then at the crowd. He thought of the war, the pain, the lost friends, but he also thought of Kalira, the girl he saved, the woman who returned. Slowly, he bent one knee, not to bow, but to show respect. The crowd gasped. Kale Ira smiled. She stepped down and placed her hand over his. Together, they stood behind the scenes. The council was silent. Some accepted this new symbol. Others plotted. Kalira turned to John. You gave them hope today. John nodded. I gave them respect. It's the start. She took his hand. We will face more challenges. He smiled. Together, the great hall was silent after the ceremony. Thousands of eyes watched as John Rayner slowly bent one knee before Empress Kalira Vane in submission. But in respect, it was a new symbol, one no one had expected. Across the galaxy, this moment spread like fire in dry grass. Humans and Zarathi alike talked about it. Peace seemed possible, but peace is never simple. In the days after the ceremony, John stayed by Kalira's side. The council's anger did not disappear. Secret meetings continued in dark rooms. Lands were made to challenge the Empress's rule and her unusual human companion. One night, John overheard whispers in the hallway. "They will strike soon," a guard warned. "The faction wants to remove the human and replace the Empress." John's face grew hard. He knew that fighting was coming. But this time, it was not about weapons or warships. It was a battle of trust and loyalty. Kalira summoned her closest. "Allies, we cannot let fear destroy what we have built," she said. "John is not just a symbol. He is family." John looked at her and felt a strange warmth. For years he had run from war and politics. Now he was part of something bigger, something worth fighting for. The next morning, a group of rebels entered the capital ship. They were armed, moving silently through corridors. John was alerted and met Kalira in the command center. "They want to capture you," he said. "You must stop them." Kalira nodded, her eyes fierce. "We fight together." The battle inside the ship was fierce but brief. John and Kalira fought side by side, using not only weapons, but their trust in each other. In the end, the rebels were captured. The faction that wanted to divide the Zarathi fell silent. With the danger gone, Kalira and John stood on the ship's bridge. Outside, the stars shone brightly. "Thank you, Kalira," said softly. John smiled. "I saved you once. Now you save us all." Kalira looked at him. He'd never had to kneel. "Your strength was in standing tall." John laughed. "And your strength was in coming back." Years later, peace held between the humans and the Zarathi. Kalira's empire grew strong, not through fear, but through respect. Together, they proved that even in the darkest wars, kindness and courage can change the course of history.